Joining us on Crypto TV today, we have Shruti Appiah, who is a token engineer by trade, and she is also the Chief Economist at Huddle01, a company that is trying to make communication a lot easier. How are you today, Shruti?
Thank you, Ornella, for the kind introduction. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well. Happy that you are joining us because I want to learn all about what is going on at Huddle01. I understand that you guys focus on this concept of real-time communication. So that refers to platforms that enable us to do video calls, right? So that's FaceTime, that's Zoom, and Google Meets. But you guys want to decentralize all of this and put it on the blockchain. So I wanted to hear a little bit about that from you. But first, I want to know what the day in a life looks like for a chief economist.
My day, I try to do all of my thinking and research work very early in the morning so that I'm able to get all of that out of the way before I have any meetings. So yeah, typically I wake up and go to the gym, a little bit of sessions, and then get really deep into my research work. And I have to admit, I do have like occasional spurts in the late evenings and like just before going to bed as well, where I get like really interesting and exciting ideas that I really want to work on. But yeah, I usually spending lots of time doing novel research and then following that up with researching what's out there as well, the state of the art. But usually it's a lot of conceptualization that I independently do in terms of mechanism design and crypto economics.
Okay, so what does this research consist of exactly? What are you prioritizing at the moment?
Currently, I'm working on Huddle01, and we're building out a decentralized real-time communications network. So, we could be having this call on Huddle01, would be facilitated, which would be facilitated by media nodes that are located in where you are in Dubai and where I am as well. And those two media nodes will talk to each other. And since server-to-server communication is far faster and much better latency, lower latency, you're able to get much better performance as well as lower costs, as well as it's in a decentralized platform. So you have complete privacy over your content and end-to-end encryption as well. So this marketplace, which involves both the suppliers of bandwidth, so those are the media nodes, as well as the consumers, which is like you and I. This marketplace facilitates interactions between the supply side and the demand side, and I'm designing all of the incentive mechanisms that facilitate this marketplace.
Okay, so let's go into that business model a little bit more. You said that the supply side are media nodes. So that's basically what Huddle01 is selling, right? These media nodes. Can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, media nodes are essentially any sort of node that is able to provide bandwidth and has a little bit of compute. We have requirements for bandwidth, which is something around 50 Mbps is the minimum requirement, but recommended is 1 Gbps. So you can usually run your media node with just your home internet connection. And the compute requirements are, 4-core CPU. So essentially, we've designed these nodes such that you're able to actually just run it on your laptop. Anyone is able to do that. We want to keep the system like as democratized as possible and want to have as many media nodes in the world compared to the current situation, which is that there's just a few different bare metal farms that is owned by AWS and various other companies that are powering all of the calls that we do today.
Yeah, so let's touch on that a bit more. So you want to democratize communication, the internet, basically. But what are the core issues there that you guys are trying to fix?
The primary issue is really, something that I'm really passionate about is the centralization of cyber infrastructure. Like, I really want to solve the centralization of cyber infrastructure. I don't think that it's healthy for the world. We're becoming increasingly reliant on cyber infrastructure for our daily activities. So cyber infrastructure, the way that I define it, is very much so all the infrastructure that we require that is powering any sorts of applications on the internet, as well as any sort of digital media. So we have basic infrastructure, which is essentially roads, utilities, water, and so on. And if you look at those types of infrastructure, they are either publicly traded or they're highly regulated by governmental institutions.
or they're freely available in the market where I want to be able to trade. So it's a free market.
Is highly regulated, so it always maintains a very good level of price so that everyone is able to access it, right? But when it comes to cyber infrastructure, now when we're speaking about compute, storage, bandwidth, everything that we need to power all sorts of applications on the internet, those are privatized. Those are currently being owned by centralized institutions that are usually acting as as an extractor of surplus, as an extractor of value to the entire ecosystem. So any sorts of applications that get built on top of it are always going to be limited by this layer of cyber infrastructure, which is centralized. I really would like to decentralize this infrastructure layer, and at Hodl 01 we're tackling bandwidth, which arguably is one of the core means through which all of these cyber infrastructures interact with one another.
Okay, so how does Hodl 01 work exactly for both the supply side and then consumers like you and me? Like, do I have to download a separate app, or like what does the process look like for the user?
Yeah, it's fairly simplistic. We've got this great product team who have an extensive background in designing Web2 products as well. And Web2 user experiences are super seamless and simple. So we've aimed to make our product very, very similar to that, very seamless, very easy. So all you need to do is go on to the website. And you can launch the app directly from the website, so you can have a browser-based experience. Or if you would like, you can have the same experience on our mobile app, which is called Hodl 01 Meet. Or you can also launch the app on your desktop.
Okay, so next time we have an interview, I'll make sure to use Hodl 01 then.
That would be awesome.
Okay, so going back to your point on infrastructure, I wanted to touch on this narrative that's pretty big right now in the blockchain and crypto industry that's called DPIN, so basically decentralized physical infrastructure networks, and just see how this is a feature of Hodl 01 and how you guys are kind of tapping into that.
Yeah. Hodl 01 is a DPIN in the sense that our physical infrastructure is going to be the laptops that are being owned by various different media nodes across the world. We are seeding the world with about 49,000 media nodes, and we just opened up the sale of media node keys yesterday, so you're able to purchase those already. And so the physical infrastructure is essentially all of the different devices that are actually supplying to the network, supplying bandwidth to the network, and all of this contributes to the overall network value as well. And on the other side, we've got the consumers participating in meetings like this, and they're using the bandwidth that's actually supplied by these.
Okay, gotcha. And then part of DPIN is also the idea of democratizing artificial intelligence tools. So would love to get your take on that and how you see that progressing, and how you assess the current state of things when it comes to AI tools and adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is really it harkens back to cyber infrastructure being centralized, and for that reason, several companies, especially in the application layer, which usually lays on top of the cyber infrastructure layer, they have been, their intention was initially to be open and democratize, make all of these models and all of the weights of the models be available to everyone in a democratic fashion. But unfortunately, what we're seeing now is that a lot of these companies have had to go closed. And that's really because they're experiencing this limit on their growth. And the limit on their growth is due to the price constraints and the unilateral control on price that the cyber infrastructure layer exerts on all of the other layers above it. So since cyber infrastructure is centralized and typically it's value extracting, it's basically almost all of the cyber infrastructure today is owned by AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, NVIDIA, and so on. And they exert a great control on price and unilateral control on price over all of the apps that are being built on top of it. And because there is that control of price as well as various other limitation on their growth, and for that reason they've had to close their business model. They can't be open anymore. A lot of these companies, such as Stability AI, OpenAI as well, they've had to go closed. One of the reasons being the fact that they are being built these open systems are being built on existing closed systems.
Okay, and so just to clarify what you mean by the fact that they've capped prices, so how does that affect the consumers then? Like why is that cap on prices such an issue?
So when you've got, as a business, when you're wanting to open up your stack of applications, let's say you're one of these AI companies and you're wanting to offer your models for free to budding artists. If you cannot price your customer, you need to be able to make revenue through some way so that you're actually able to sustain your company. Because the revenue needs to be significantly high, because the costing of actually building out these models and running these models as well is really high, because compute is expensive. Compute is in the cyber infrastructure layer, and in the cyber infrastructure layer, almost all of the costings are experiencing this unilateral price control. When it comes to bandwidth, what we found is that data egress costs is also significant, and by decentralizing that layer of bandwidth, essentially we're able to decrease the prices by 95%. So compared to AWS, we've got a 95%
And cost reduction.
Okay, and so why are blockchain tools a solution for this? Like, do we need blockchain to solve this?
That's my passion. So blockchain makes it really, really simple and very clear to actually implement incentive mechanisms. So the ability for us to essentially build out these really, really innovative socioeconomic operating systems, blockchain forms a foundation for that, and that's where we're able to use the power of the tools enabled by blockchain, as well as the transparency and the strict enforceability of smart contracts as well, in order for us to be able to run these incentive mechanisms and the crypto economic model and facilitate all kinds of transactions that are happening between the median on the supply side and the demand side, which are the consumers.
So it's more about the transparency side of things and making sure that things are recorded so everyone can see what's going on. Gotcha. All right, and so why are you personally so interested in blockchain technology and in Web3?
Do you want the whole story, or do you want just the synopsis?
Synopsis would be good.
I got into it when I was really concerned about corporate social responsibility way back in the day in 2015, and then formally in 2016 I started working on blockchain projects, particularly at Consensus, because I was super excited by this possibility of actually building out new ways that humans can interoperate with one another. So the ability for us to actually build these socioeconomic operating systems that are alternate to the existing models that we have today, and that can also operate on top of the existing models, that's what really caught me in. And to be honest, like, I had a few different startups that were sort of operating in the DPIN space back then as well. And today, everything is coming full circle with Huddle One.
Oh, okay. And so what would Shruti's ideal future look like? Is it fully blockchain enabled, fully AI enabled? Like, how would you like to see the future look like?
Yeah, I'm currently one of the bodies of research that I'm focused on right now is hyperorganic systems. Hyperorganic systems are essentially systems that are able to evolve with changing conditions of the internal as well as the external environment. So we all live in really complex environments that are constantly changing, right? And for that reason, we also need protocols as well as rule sets, which are also adapting over time. They cannot be rigid, they cannot be static. And if they are static and rigid, they're usually based on assumptions. So we don't want those types of systems, because they oftentimes tend to collapse on themselves, and they don't tend to give a long-term promise on their function and their value. So hyperorganic systems are essentially systems that are able to evolve the protocol itself over time. They dynamically adapt to all of the changing conditions, and so that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm very excited to see how this pans out in crypto economic systems. Like, we have already worked on some of the mechanisms within Huddle are hyperorganic. We've got dynamic minting and dynamic burning as well. But I'm excited to see how this type of body of work actually influences crypto economics as well as governance at large.
Okay, so you're putting more of an emphasis on things being, or systems being adaptable more so than automated. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, and we can actually automate the adaptability as well, because
Okay.
not all decisions, we don't want to be actually like making all of the decisions as humans. AI can like make some of the simpler, smaller decisions, where we don't want to be super involved. And like, for example, like the color of your background, right? AI can make that decision. It's not going to be super impactful to the net state of the world. So, as long as we can actually delegate some of the decisions to multi-agent processors that are distributed so that they can actually collect data from the different geographies, I think that actually automating that part of updating the protocol is actually a really good idea.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So, Shruti, tell me, what is the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they have any more questions and to use Huddle 01?
I'm on Telegram at Shruti Appiah 1. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, or feel free to just Google my name. All the links will show up. And Huddle 01, you can visit our website. It's huddle01.com. And we are just starting to do our note sales as well. So check out our Twitter for various kinds of updates on that. And we've also got our light paper already on. And soon we'll be also rolling out our entire white paper.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Shruti. I learned a lot, and I'll make sure to keep updated with the progress at Huddle 01.
Thank you, Ornella, for having me. Take care.
Yeah, you too. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Crypto TV and this conversation with Shruti Appiah from Huddle 01. Make sure to reach out to her if you have any questions, and also to watch other episodes of Crypto TV, and I'll see you guys next week.